1,160 university graduates, and 1,070 youth to register and provide essential services to farmers across the country. To date, 201,000 farmers have been registered. In addition, 121,000 metric tons of subsidized fertilizer and 4,400 metric tons of subsidized seeds and cereal, legumes, and vegetables have been distributed to beneficiary farmers. The program also registers suppliers to distribute farm produce to public institutions across the school feeding program, the free senior high school program, prisons, defense and police, among others, to ensure availability of quality food in a timely manner in these institutions. The invasion of the fall armyworm, Mr. Speaker, was managed through distribution of chemicals to farmers, recruitment of spraying guns, and monitoring and surveillance. This intervention recovered 123,000 hectares of farmlands out of 137,000 hectares affected. A strategic stock of insecticide and other logistics will be built to ensure ready availability of chemicals during outbreaks, as well as intensification of monitoring and surveillance. In 2018, to improve livelihood of livestock farmers in all 10 regions and increase meat production, 2,000 livestock farmers will be supported with 70,000 small ruminants. The ministry will also support 6 national livestock breeding stations to produce and distribute 200 cross-bred heifers, 1,700 breeds, and 100,000 cockles. To promote agricultural mechanization, 220 tractors and accessories comprising 141 maize shellers and 77 multi-crop threshers were distributed to farmers and service providers. In 2018, the ministry will distribute 200 tractors and marching implements. To facilitate the provision of community-owned and managed small-scale irrigation facilities, especially in northern Ghana, the ministry identified 192 small dams and dugouts in 64 districts for development under the One Village, One Dam initiative beginning in 2018. In addition, 30 pumping schemes and 100 boreholes will be developed and a feasibility study conducted for water transmission lines in northern Ghana.
And we know that the finance minister, after that appearance, had a lot of reaction from the minority, but also a lot of praise from not only sections of the majority side of parliament, but already we've had some caution, especially coming from IFS, the Institute for Fiscal Studies, and Dr. Kwache has already given an indication that based on what was outlined, well, revenue shortfalls not enough. That is, revenue measures not enough to address shortfalls according to the IFS. So it's just in the center spread of the daily graphic. Well, so let me just introduce my guest for the morning. Kwame Agboja was with us during the long time discussions throughout Wednesday morning, and he's here. He's a member of parliament for Adaklu. And thanks for joining me, Kwame. Morning. All right, and I also have for the first time on the segment, Kwame Ifa is a member of parliament for Anthony Ifa is a member of parliament for Esikuma Odobrin Brakwa. That's a very popular constituency, if you know PC appeal for it. Yeah, he's made that popular.
Yes.
So thanks for joining me.
Okay, my pleasure.
It's nice having you.
Okay.
And what would be your general observation generally? I mean, what would you say if you put a couple of words and lines together you can find from your lexicon you can use to describe the budget?
Well, okay, thank you very much. I'd like to say good morning to our cherished viewers and listeners, and also to give them that indication that this 2018 budget came to resolve challenges of 2017 and challenges that had existed before. The whole idea of a budget is to know that there are challenges and then to proffer some solutions. Essentially, what the Minister for Finance came to do was to tell us that there were some achievements, there were some failures, but that 2018, there were some initiatives which is put forward to the country. It is for Parliament to debate all these initiatives. The estimates are not out yet, and I think we may not be able to talk about the real estimates. The ones that is done, we'll be able to identify the sufficiency or otherwise of the provisions that the minister has made for the state. So generally, like he concluded, he said it's a Juma budget. Some have said a Juma pa, whichever, they all go together. But it's something that intends or has the plan to increase as it were jobs, especially for the young people. So we should have a lot of hope in 2018.
And that's what we should do, right, Kwame? Even though your side of the house has given us it a certain description, a number of words used.
Yes, good morning to you and good morning to our cherished viewers, especially those from the Adaklu constituency. For me, I've never seen a finance minister deliver a budget that lacked so much basis.
Are you serious?
Yes, and I'll give you reasons. First of all, the budget lacks any benchmarks. And we doubt even the credibility of some of the things he's talking about. If you notice, for the first time, a finance minister presents a budget and cannot even tell us our debt stock. He didn't even mention it. And I give you the second thing. On the highlights, you see how deceptive things were. If you take their own a table of economic performance in 2017, overall GDP, when taken in June, so they are using the figures of the mid-year review. It's as if nothing happened since June till today. And then when it came to non-oil growth rate, June, 4%. When it came to end of year inflation, October. When it came to overall budget deficit, September. When it came to current account balance, August. Where is the benchmark? It gives you an indication that the finance minister is picking and choosing. Let me give you another example. By the time they did the mid-year review, we were told that the budget deficit was, our debt was about 138 billion from 126 billion thereabout. So, and in fact, a day before the budget, we even borrowed. He came to Parliament to borrow more money. So it's as if from the mid-year review to today, they haven't borrowed any money. So we are saying that the so-called 68% or something of the debt to GDP is fake, unless he gives us the figures that are current. Because all the things he's saying, much of them were June figures. So we believe that this is a deliberate attempt. And to cap it, my brother, when you come and present a budget, and then you talk about many projects that you said you fulfilled, and giving hope. Look, you want to recruit 100,000 people, when just 250 medical doctors qualified are home. Adaklu doesn't even have one qualified medical doctor.
We'll come to the issues.
Yes.
We'll come to the issues.
Yes.
Don't
so
worry.
I think
hold your 250 doctors.
Yeah.
Adaklu even doesn't have medical. But I just wanted to also draw your attention. Yeah. Usually, we have the figures that need to be collated nationally. Now, when it comes to the GDP and what the macroeconomic indicators and the figures are, you know, they liaise closely with the Statistical Service, with the Bank of Ghana, and the other reporting institutions and collates them. And in order for you not to report, that is my observation, in order for you not to report inaccurate figures, that would be holistic of national. They take the quarterly reports and then they add them together. I'm not sure by September they would have had all the three quarter reports. That is why perhaps maybe you find it as of June. It doesn't mean that they may not have some initial figures for the next quarter that would have been from July to about September.
Brilliant. So is it accurate to say that?
Oh, you are saying that is it representative enough?
Yes.
No, of course.
So is it accurate to say that our debt to GDP, so basically let's say that.
But it is not unrealistic.
It is not. It is not realistic. I'm saying that.
No, I'm saying it is not unrealistic. You are saying it is realistic.
Yeah. Let me tell you why it's unrealistic. Mid-year review, you came up with a figure. We have done one quarter on top of that, and we are in the last quarter of the year. So are they saying that Statistical Service never provided any figures for the third quarter I'm saying that it was deliberate. The reason to choose June, July, August, September figures for different items is just to conceal the true nature. And we are saying, you in the minority are saying that the credibility of the data used is, to call it light, it's not credible. and because we know the figures from IMF and other things are saying something different. We are aware that surely our debt to GDP has gone up. Our borrowing rate, in fact, we are saying, last week you remember, or this week, sometime this week, we are saying that our debt stock is about 150 billion, and the finance minister is hiding it under all these repetition of English words. Who provide job. When you, for instance, actually teachers, some teachers were given appointment letter. Normally, when they are given appointment letters at this time of the year, they start work in September. Are you aware that the appointment letter that was given to teachers now, they are supposed to start work in December? Because they don't have money to pay them.
We'll come to the subject because we have an HR practitioner who has also written a good piece based on some of the highlights of the budget. So we'll invite him to the discussion when we get there. But you wanted to react to it. But before you do the reaction, now let's take sector by sector.
Okay.
One of the biggest, perhaps, criticisms that had been leveled against the finance minister, but also a government, is the inability for the current financial year to meet revenue targets. For example, IFS, which is an institution, a think tank, so to speak, is reporting that the measures that have been indicated in the budget for revenue mobilization are not enough. And IFS seems to be a credible institution. Dr. John Kwachi told the Graphic Business that we're not talking about increasing tax rate because they're already high, but we're talking about widening the tax net. And he says that you can't find it in the budget.
Thank you again. It's indeed true that in 2017, the projected target for revenue was not completely achieved. We got 90%. But let us remember that we set ourselves a growth in revenue that was very, very ambitious. In the past, governments or previous governments had always budgeted increase of about 18 to 20%. The facts are clear. We decided to stretch ourselves to about 31 to 36% of revenue on 2016. And we achieved 90% of that. In absolute terms, we've achieved even more. But what we recognize as a true government is that when we set out to do 100% and we got 90, we are not still satisfied. So there are new initiatives in 2018, the 2018 budget. Some of them were mentioned. And I would like to, for example, indicate that there's going to be the use of even POS, points of sale, so that we can capture even the informal revenues. It is compliance, which is a problem. Compliance with the tax revenues, which is a problem. And one other initiative which you mentioned was that even with the bonded warehousing, we have business people putting their commodities there and still moving them out without paying the appropriate revenues. So now the finance minister told us yesterday that one of the initiatives is to ensure that any business person who had stocks in a warehouse had to provide bank guarantees or some insurance, so that when the commodity got short, at the end of the day, then banks will be called upon under their guarantees to pay. These are all initiatives to try to mop up resources which we were not able to collect in the past. There are other things about expanding the tax net. This has been an ongoing process from many, many years ago. So this is not a new initiative. But what we seek to do is that when we have reduced some of the rates, which are clear from the 2017 budget, work that we did in Parliament, we're able to reduce a lot of these rates. The implication or the impact on the economy will not be felt instantly, but invariably. The whole idea is that once we make the environment enabling for the business person, these tax elements will come through. So this is not a 100% foolproof collection methodology, but the compliance is so important for this government that we seek to improve on compliance. Once that is done, we're able to meet the targets. The targets that we set ourselves in 2018 are also quite ambitious. We are moving from about 41 to 51. And these are big, big targets, billion cities, of course. These are big targets which we seek to bring in to meet the projects, the expenditure projections for 2018. So a lot is going on, and essentially it is about non-compliance, and we're trying to get that together. When we do that, we are hopeful we could get the required revenue for our operations in 2018. So something was said. Yes.
You go to Kumasi, even already the traders are complaining that the 3% rate, the way it's been implemented, is not the best way. And already we're saying that we can justify means by which we can expand the revenue, the tax net, so that we can show up revenue. You think that's the best way, Mr. Abuja?
Or rather, first of all, I must say that it means the NDC was vindicated in our tax measures when we brought in the fiscal stabilization, the special import levy, and all those things that they kept, which they said they were not going to keep. Let me give you one example why it is almost difficult for some of us to understand that though it is true that the percentage collected in terms of tax revenue may have gone down, the actual accruals to the government in terms of what comes to them for them to use should not have been less. Why do I say this? Out of capping alone, example like road fund, the finance minister was expected to take 400 million Ghana cedi out of road fund levy alone. In other words, what I'm saying is that though the revenue collection might be down by 10%, the actual money that came to the finance minister available to them would have been more, because in the past, all these monies were not available to him. He was not in position, the previous finance minister was not in a position to take 400 million Ghana cedi out of the road fund. Today, they've capped, they've taken it. In fact, they've taken, as you are aware, all the way to blood banks and everywhere. At these assemblies, everything have been capped. They took money from them. So in effect, we were expecting the exchequer to have much more money, despite a reduction in tax revenue. So it's difficult for us to understand why the finance minister is talking about that. Indeed, we did warn them. If you remember, Honorable Ato Forson, when we were doing the debate on the 2017 budget, warned them that all these projections as to how they'll collect money was going to be difficult. Thirdly, which taxes did we reduce? Reducing 17.5% on domestic airline ticket. Go and check the figures. How much was the country going to lose by doing that? It's cosmetic. It's peanuts. If the tax was to be reduced on fuel generally, then you know that it would take a big hit. But they went and reduced taxes on miniature things, which shouldn't actually result into significant tax revenue loss. It is just because they didn't do better. Indeed, when contractors are not being paid, when service industry is struggling.
And is that the situation?
Of course.
How can the service industry be struggling? Because
well, it grew, but the point is that much of it is owed by government. Government has refused to pay its commitment. So these are the things that are reflected in the reasonable figures.
So you're saying that even though there's been a huge outlay,
yes,
it's rather within a certain constricted period of austerity.
Let me give you another example. I expect that the revenue that will accrue to the road fund will be down. Why? Contractors are one of the biggest users of fuel. Now, for a year, some contractors have not been paid. So they've laid down their tools. So the contractors go and buy fuel for you to get the fuel levy into the road fund. So you are not paying the contractors. They didn't go to buy the fuel. So the fuel is in the tank, and you are expecting them to pay. So they can't see that they are running in a circle. And this budget doesn't show any way that we are going to come out of it. And strangely, they have even opened up bigger to do recurrent expenditure, which is not going to lead to any productivity that will make this economy better. That is why we are talking
about expenditure on the social side.
Yes, and that's why we are saying that this is a very hopeless budget.
Well, I'll come to you, but we know that we need a strong civil service.
Yes.
To make that fruitful. And so we'll be jumping on that, whether we have the key benchmarks there, the training method, and what we're told, all the rhetorics that were said on the campaign platform, and now after 10 months, get into the next financial year, whether we really see that. And I have this HR and organizational development practitioner who has written a beautiful article, Casely Atu Coleman says, building the organizational capability of the civil service, and Mr. Link in the 2018 budget. He's joining me on Skype. Good morning to you, Mr. Casely Coleman. Good morning to you. Can you hear me?
Well, yeah, good morning, Roland, for having me.
Right, great. Now, if we want to achieve many of the things that we intend to, and especially for all those who will be speaking on the budget, is the subject of the revenue. Because government wants to spend more, but government also wants to collect a lot more so that we could have a certain balance as far as the fiscal side is concerned. If we have a civil service that is not tuned to what the objectives of government is, how do we put it on the right path?
Thank you, Roland. I think, thank you once again for having me on your show. I think all the discussions that I've had so far have not mentioned the delivery model for executing the economic policy of government. And as you rightly mentioned, the civil service is supposed to be the change agent for driving transformation. Now, if you look at the economic policy statement that was read yesterday, there is clear conceptual clarity on the strategic intent and investment choices of the government. And even more interesting is the challenge thrown by the Minister of Finance that government will ensure that the policy is delivered in alignment with the strategic development goals. That is a bold ambition. And so therefore, for me as an HR practitioner, it means that the stage has been set to measure the line of sight between the policy execution of government in alignment with the SDGs. Now, if you look at a few of the SDGs, SDG 3, which talks about good health and well-being, 4 talks about quality education, 5 gender equality, 6 clean water and sanitation, 8 decent work and economic growth, 10 reduced inequality, 16 focusing on peace, justice and strong institutions. If you look at all these SDGs, you will see that government has tried to frame the strategic intent and investment choices around them. However, what is missing in the statement that was presented was the extent to which government is going to invest in building the organizational capability of the civil service to be a robust and agile delivery model to ensure execution, learning, and also sustainability.
Well, that even brings me into a sharp focus, or brings into sharp focus a criticism from the minority that said, for example, 100,000 graduates supposed to be roped into some form of job creation activities or to be employed somehow. And the criticism from the minority is that, oh, these are really just job for the boys. Now, how do we streamline what the intent is to make sure we bring people on board, while at the same time those that already are on board don't have the right training and then the mentality for it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. And without going into the partisan politics, purely from an HR perspective, I think that clearly the civil service organizational design for me is something that has to be looked at. If you look at all the 17 policy initiatives that were announced in the economic policy presented yesterday, the first question is, what is the organizational model of the civil service as it exists right now? Does it have the right leadership? Does it have the right value-driven performance management systems? Does it have the right recognition systems? Is it agile? Does it execute quickly? Is it customer-focused? For me, I think that if the government is to realize its objectives of the policy, it has to invest in the civil service. Now, for example, this perennial discussion about the single spine, and it's something that has been more or less like an albatross hanging on the neck of most successful governments. And some of us have said that it is time for government to even change its own compensation philosophy and to have a clear theory of change when it comes to compensation and also efficiency in governance. Because I think If we don't have the right leaders, if we don't have the right values, if we don't have the right procedures, if we don't have the right mentality, then I think even though the strategic intent and investment choices of government is very laudable on paper, it will be difficult to ensure quality execution because the delivery model, which is the civil service, is not well configured to deliver that. Now, on that point, I also wanted to mention another observation that I made, I've seen also, and that has to do with the lack of gender transformative approach in the budget and financial statement, economic policy statement that was made yesterday. The only reference to gender and social protection was on the school feeding program and also empowering women to be part of the procurement process. I think for me, if you say you want to align your policies with the SDGs, gender transformation means that you are looking at tackling power relationships. And women are not equal across the whole sectors of the economy. So therefore, if you want to ensure that you have a budget that transforms the lives of Ghanaians and creates wealth and prosperity, you have to look at institutions. And the first place to look at is the civil service. Is the civil service gender transformative enough? You understand? So that is number one. Now, number two, is the civil service robust and agile enough, and does it have the right subject matter experts? Does it have the right thought leaders who will drive policy execution, evaluation, and learning? If you look at one statistic that the minister gave yesterday, he talked about the fact that infant mortality had increased from, I think, 5.8 to 7.5 for every 100,000 live births. That is worrying. Now, the question is, how are we going to invest to ensure that we have data integrity and data quality so that it drives decision-making by government? So I think all these factors boils down to the fact that I think government also has to let us know how it's going to repurpose its resources to invest in the civil service so that it can become a change agent to drive transformation.
Well, thank you very much. And Kesley Coleman is an HR and organizational management change expert, and so giving us his contribution there. And that means that we need a strong civil service to complement it. But the other side of the political divide always constantly, since government took office, has criticized government about the structure and the way it goes about perhaps moving people and plucking people out of here. How do we achieve it? Knowing that we have to get the right revenues, need to make sure we put fire on the tails of many an institution to achieve the right targets.
Yeah, thank you very much. And speaking from the point of view of the HR practitioner, the civil service really has a lot of challenges. And between yourself and me, we know that these challenges, somebody says, you pretend to pay, they pretend to work. Somebody says, you pretend to work, they pretend as if they are paying you. It's a real challenge, and no government should stay away from that. I think we'd like to take a cue from what he said. But then when government talks about the economy, these civil servants are catered for under the MDA's budgets. The details are not with us here because it's not yet been circulated. But the truth is that every single ministry, department, and agency has a provision for training. Whether it is in line with what the speaker said, every institution determines what is good for the institution. So I would agree that maybe it's important for us to have some plan for such developments, because without a civil service, things will not work. Registering a company may take years. Happily, we're going to automate all these practices or processes for registering companies. So introducing technology could also improve on what we do. And I would love, for example, that all the monies that are going to these MDAs will be used also for training. I'm sure we can increase capacity.
No, I know you want to comment, but let's move on to electricity. Good one, and the initiative before then was that we want to make sure we don't burden the domestic consumer, but we have enough, perhaps, focus on industry. That has seen tremendous announcements by the finance minister that ultimately we should see some reduction between 13 to over 21% in tariffs. That's a good one there, won't you say?
Well, just a brief one on what
Okay.
I think what he said is very
relevant.
critical. Yeah, it's very relevant because you see, and that's what I said, that this budget doesn't have any benchmarks. Even the data is to some of us is a bit problematic. We can even the public. The private sector would require a solid public sector to deliver because the interfaces exist. And I agree with my brother when he says that things like automating or making registration of companies, maybe paying taxes much more easier for people, it will be a step in the right direction. But it's amazing. We have the largest size of government in our history ever, yet we can't get the basic things, and these are the people who are managing the civil service and everything. They are the heads of all this thing. When it comes to the electricity tariff, before we get to the electricity tariff, my brother, I think the public needs to take politicians serious, and the only way they can take us serious if we want them to take us serious. It's on record that we all know we went through a terrible time in terms of power generation and distribution in this country, and for a good part of 2 years to 3 years, indeed, under the previous government, which I was part of, we had a challenge. But you are aware that we took solid steps that resolved that, and even His Excellency the Vice President was at a point in time when people were giving praises to President Mahama, said that there was no reason to praise him for stopping Dumsor. All of a sudden, the finance minister appeared in parliament and said that the NPP has stopped Dumsor without mentioning one thing that they've done. We said, apart from building the thermal plants and others because the hydro wasn't working enough, we just don't have enough. Akosombo, because of the rains, and then the Bui is a picking plant. We're only saved by the intervention of the thermal plants and other things. And we all knew the circumstances around them. Indeed, the only way we did that was to invest heavily. Currently, the finance minister in 2017 and in 2018 budget doesn't say anything about even generation or expansion of anything. They talked about some project, but that is even another phase of car power. Now, we are saying that, indeed, they promised to reduce electricity tariffs. But all they want to do now, and in the parliament, you saw the reaction. When he started talking, people were thinking he was coming to announce that there's a reduction. Then he went down and said, he said that he's coming to talk to PURC. Indeed, the law says that it is only PURC that can do that. So if you haven't yet spoken to PURC, what the hell are you doing talking about the quantum of reduction you can give? So that is another way of deception.
It's not plausible.
I'm not saying it's not plausible. I think it's deception. It's just like putting the cart before the horse. You should have gone through that, and in any case, PURC still exists before the finance minister came there. They could have had that conversation. We expect that the only thing they are going to do is to do a reverse. Currently, domestic customers pay less than industry. The idea is to collapse some of the brackets and to make some people pay more. And we are saying that some domestic consumers will pay more, depending on the bracket in which you are. So there will not be any idea of reducing anything because the debt in the energy sector is still mounting. And we are finding it difficult to understand, since the debt is there, you are still extending the SLI and other things. And the budget doesn't talk about any support in the budget to say that will help industry. Where is the money going to come from to do that? And we are saying that the only reason he would do that.
So they are just
going to collapse
They're just robbing Peter to pay.
Exactly. They may even give some relief to industry because they will rob some people in the domestic business. So let's see whether the figures will come out. He might come out and say that, look, we wanted it, the PURC didn't allow us.
But that's just an assumption from you. I'm not sure you're too specific from me.
Yeah.
It's just supposition, kind of.
Yeah, I don't think the finance minister will come to Parliament, the House of Parliament, and just say anything. I'm sure he has his grounding for saying that there could be some savings in the cost of the tariffs to consumers.
Well, that's a projection too.
Yeah, but at least there has been some work done, and the parameters have been established that between 13% and 21% we can save on the cost of energy. That in itself should tell us that the government, he just fell short of announcing, because that's not his responsibility. Otherwise, he would have said it in Parliament.
That from hence or from this time,
yes,
there will be a reduction at this point.
He'll be held to ransom. When the president, for example, announced that there will be a tariff reduction, people are saying he did it wrongly.
Yeah.
That he should have waited. So the minister maybe took a cue from that and has waited. Let's just wait for PURC to do their job. And I'm sure the indications are that between 13 and 21%,
definitely,
the various categories will enjoy
across board.
Right.
Industry.
Let me just in case you don't know, let me just to apprise ourselves of all the classification. The reduction is going to be between 11
to 21%.
To 21%.
Yes.
Now, residential consumers are going to enjoy up to, you know the English,
of course,
up to 13%.
Yes.
So it means that, for example, if I buy 200 Ghana every 3 weeks, it means that I may not necessarily be enjoying up to 13% or be enjoying 13%. I may enjoy 2% or 3%. And so somebody who buys 20 cedis every 2 weeks or 3 weeks will be the one that will be enjoying. And that's what you alluded to.
Yes.
That just robbing Peter.
They will collapse some of the brackets.
Yes. And that's what I said. Non-residential. Yeah. 13%, that's flat. And then a special low tariff, that's low voltage, 13%. Special load tariff, medium voltage, 11%. And special low tariff, high voltage, 14%. Now, the high voltage mines, they'll get 21%. And that's industry.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you, that, to be honest.
But we know the large consumers are domestic.
Yes.
Yes. But the heavy consumers at a time.
Yes.
I mean, over
exactly.
Yes. So, is that problematic?
Yeah, well, you see, we are in a situation.
Or it's a way just to.
Yes, I'm
like
saying
a small screen?
Well, because I'm saying that at the end of the day, the finance minister, I don't blame him for that, in a sense that I know there's huge debt in the energy sector. That is why we brought the SLAC, which they said they will remove. Now they can't remove it. Now,
did they say they will remove it?
Of course, they said they will kick it. They'll remove it.
That was on the campaign platform.
Yeah, well, okay, fine. For reminding me. When you have a situation currently, the largest quantum of energy consumed in this country is produced by private people, or by PPP and other things. So I'm saying that people are producing this power and are selling less than the production tariff. And the only way government can force them to reduce it is government itself reduce the government taxes or provide support. And I'm saying this budget is too tight for government to do that. And indeed, they didn't provide any level. So the only thing they can do is to do an adjustment in the tariff bracket, which is to say that maybe currently you consume 100 units, and then they will say that, and then somebody from 60 units, you pay more. They'll probably collapse the two of you. So when they give the 11%, by the time you realize you are paying more simply because you are consuming, you have been put in a higher bracket. And I'm saying that is all that will happen, nothing else, because otherwise the energy sector debt would balloon.
If I was somebody who responds to your response, I'll say that's ingenuity. It means you are sharp. You know how to move things.
But that's not what they promised.
But let's go to the public and see what they think. So we've been asking the public about what they think about the announcement that there could be some reduction in what they consume as far as electricity is.
Wonderful idea, and I pray that it is well implemented, because this country we get things are said and they are not really done. So I pray that it works out. I pray that there should be a way of allowing the rich to pay more and the poor paying less. We can't be paying as the rich in our society. So there should be a way whereby the rich will be paying more, whereas the poor will be paying less.
Because that is our prayer, that the electricity is killing us. So if God, listen to our prayer, and then today the budget come and they reduce it, we thank God. Yeah, we thank God. That is more I can say.
Oh, I think it's a good news. Looking at how much we spend on electricity per our income, and most of the times we sometimes compare our electricity bills to even the rent we pay, and the impact is very great. So I believe with 13%, it's insignificant though, but I feel it will do us some good. It will relieve us a little bit. Yeah.
Although it will help people, but I don't think it is necessary for the government to reduce electricity bill. Because if the electricity bill is reduced now by a year, or by maybe 6 to 10 months time, it will also go up. So the people will still talk about it. So why can't the government keep the current electricity bill? If the government can keep the electricity bill for maybe 1 or 2 years at the same rate, I think that one will be better than reducing and increasing. I don't think it will. Oh, I know my electricity bill will go down a little, but I don't think that will make any impact in my life. Yeah, that's why I'm saying reducing the electricity bill bit by bit, it will not have any impact in my life. So it's better for the government to stable the electricity bill. If the bill is there for 2 years, 3 years, that would be okay, than to reduce and within a short term another increment.
Oh, to me, yeah, it's okay. The electricity bill is very higher in this country. It's normal. He's thinking about his people in this country. And that one is cool. Yeah, that's the only thing I can say about it. I could remember they are bringing a prepaid into my house. For 5 months, I have to pay, you have to pay 26 million.
And that's what the ordinary consumer thinks about what the tariff is. But that's it, right? We want to appeal to the populace. We're being populist. Is that it?
No, that's not the case.
That's what the critics say.
No, MPP is not populist in anything. We have given...
Telling consumers that you want to reduce to 13,
yeah, of course,
21%.
that is why we are in government, to make sure that we reduce the burden on everybody as much as possible. So if reducing tariffs is good enough, then we will have to do it. Even if we have to cut expenditure somewhere else to do that, we'll be able to do that. So there's nothing populist about this, just the reality on the ground we are trying to meet. And
so you're saying we are just shuffling the cards?
We're not shuffling the cards.
You're playing to the hands of Abuja?
No, we are not. What we do, we heard the minister say clearly that the formula for determining the tariffs is what they are looking at, or they've looked at. So if there is an existing formula which can be changed to have some savings of 11 to 21%, let us encourage that. And I think the minister knows exactly how much we are targeting to collect this year and what we can do with that amount. The good thing about the government is that we want to spend within the revenue that we generate. Otherwise, the easier option is to go all over the world, borrow as much as you need. So you borrow, you spend, you borrow, you spend. But that is not a good legacy to leave for Ghanaians. So we like to generate as much as we can, giving the new interventions or initiatives and the revenue mobilization strategies, and also spend within that. If we're able to do that for a year or two, then we are now able to generate, and you can also realize that most of the bonds that we generate, we raise are domestic, most of them. So we also encouraging the domestic markets to grow so we can have money. In the financial sector...
You're not assuming that many of the bonds or the number of bonds that we've raised domestically have been bought by investors locally. They have... it really doesn't matter. The important thing is that we're doing it in our own currency. Yes, the money doesn't circulate around here.
Yeah, so we're doing it in our own currency. So it takes away some risk of exchange conversion.
Well, definitely.
That is very important for us. Yeah, and also the interest rates that we have here. We're trying to reprofile some of the existing debts such that we can pay lower rates over extended periods. And I think that is also good. It frees space for government to be able to do the interventions that we have set ourselves to do. I don't think the party has any plan to deceive anybody. The party's intention, the government's intention, is to alleviate the difficulties of Ghanaians. And if we are only talking about the reduction in tariffs in the energy sector, I think that is a good move. And government, I would encourage my colleague here to support this view, so that he pays lower rates, I pay lower rates, and our parents in the villages also pay lower rates. I think we'll all be better off.
Well, I agree with you. I'm not against paying lower tariffs. I'm just saying that we don't have enough space to do that. And when you talk about you are bringing policies that are supposed to do things. Look, yesterday, the finance minister went home. He is the one who comes to parliament talking about religion. He went home knowing that if he took the list of the things he said and went to his pastor and say, am I truthful? Look, when you say things like $1 million per constituency, what was his comment? Did that happen? Nothing. And talking about the national ID card, that they've rolled it out. Do you know that even the ID card that the president outdoor was printed abroad? Today, I challenge the vice president to produce his own card. They don't have it. The communication minister hasn't got a card because they don't have the capability of printing the cards yet. What is the rush in doing this? You went and printed a card abroad, came to give one to the president, and then the vice president can't even get one. So there's a litany of the things. Look, agri sector. You know, agri sector as part of a composition of GDP dipped, despite the 700 million Ghana cedi spent on planting for food and other things. So far, the projection is that it dipped. It reduced. Army things, all the Army and other things have reduced all the output. So I am saying that there's a litany of things that were promised. By now, you and I know that at least there should have been at least 51 factories. In operation. My brother and I know that there's no factory anywhere. The Volta regional minister, for instance, keeps saying that it is my constituency that to host the first, how do you call it, one district, one factory. I mean, I don't. Then they go and try to coerce somebody to adopt his farm. That is not a factory.
Which one? The pineapple one in Central?
No, in my village, he's claiming that the president will come and commission the first one district, one factory in Adaklu.
But what's wrong with it?
Where is it? I mean, how are you going to commission a factory?
It's supposed to be some kind of PPP arrangement.
Fine, I'm saying that. Are you talking about coming to help a farmer farm or, start a factory? There's nothing like that. So as we speak, the pineapple...
But the roles and the initiatives...
Did you mention that...
The efforts are supposed to be...
Did you say that there's a pineapple factory somewhere?
Yes, the one in the Central region, the one that the president...
Send the reporters to find out whether there's anything going on in that factory. There's nothing going on. So you see, it is...
On the health sector?
On the health sector. The fact that for us to report an increase in infant mortality is a scary thing. In a sense that the previous government have made, and I keep saying, the biggest ever investment in healthcare. The 2017 budget never even said anything about building even one cheap compound. Though I'm building some through my MP Common Fund. My brother is probably building some. The government focus on health has been taken away because of the small section of education, which is free SHS.
We'll come and discuss
So I am saying that the fact that we are beginning to show bad indicators in the health sector is an indictment. And to make it worse, I repeat, the fact that we have over about 250 or 240 fully qualified medical doctors sitting at home watching you and I, who are ready to work, and the government can't even recruit 250 people to go and save the people of Adaklu and other areas, yet they are talking about recruiting 100,000 people. You can only tell that if a he-goat want to sell you a perfume, you ask yourself, how come he's got that scent on him? If he's got the capability of selling you a scent that is nicer in the nose of people, how come he's got that scent? I think this is just a farce. 100,000 people, where is the money to pay them? As we sit, I'm saying there are teachers qualified, nurses qualified, doctors qualified, critical staff, we call them, who we need in our local areas to work. The government is not recruiting them and paying them. Yet you are talking about a phantom 100,000 people. Ghanaians are seeing the truth and the lies in what the finance minister is saying.
And that is why we have on the line Gabriel Benako, and he is with a coalition of NGOs in health. Good morning to you, Mr. Benako.
Good morning, sir.
You were then extremely, perhaps, happy then with the announcement by the finance minister, with the measures as far as the efforts that have been made in the health sector, and for the coming year too, weren't you?
Yes, good morning, everybody, the studio, and then good morning, Ghana. The coalition of NGOs in health appreciate the fact that he mentioned the immunization. Government is working hard to support immunization program by purchasing the vaccine. So that at least that one statement, one sentence statement has been recognized. So we thank the minister for knowing that every year Ghana needs to budget for over 6 million children.
That's not new. That's always been a recurrent expenditure.
That's what I'm saying. So at least we appreciate that attempt. But on a more serious note, we are so step about the budget statement he made casually on health. There's nothing in the budget that talks about seriousness, serious investment into the health sector. For example, if you pick the MPP manifesto and what they seek to do in the health sector, it will have been something unprecedented. But if you look at his 2017 budget statement, even what they said they wanted to do, they couldn't do it. It was vague and they couldn't do it. And now another projection has made, if you look at all the sectors, it is the health sector that they have silenced it critically. I don't know whether intentional or the finance minister do not have information about the current situation in the health sector. And if you care to know, the health sector is in a transition now. One, we are on funding in terms of budget. Two, we are in a crisis in terms of non-communicable disease in the country. And we need to have a policy on non-communicable disease. The cancers, all the forms of cancer are currently in Ghana, seriously, and is overtaking malaria, HIV, TB, as we used to place premium on them. That is a very critical situation. Two, the national health insurance is still not on its toe, and it is a critical area that the minister ought to have informed Ghanaians about substantially what they want to invest into the health sector to revamp it as they put it and to restructure it as they put it. There's nothing we have seen in that. Three, the mental health. You know, Ghana is an agrarian country, and we are moving from the normal agriculture to modernized agriculture. It has a lot of implications on mental health. People are going to be stressed out. People are going to have a lot of challenges in mental health. Mining is booming. And so every country that really wants to sustain its growth must place premium on mental health. That they mention it in their manifesto, and for getting to 3 years in a two consecutive budget statement, we have not seen any substantial plan they have for the mental health. We don't have the legislative instrument on the mental health for 10 months now. They have not talked about it. That can mandate the Minister of Finance to give money to the Mental Health Authority. That has not been mentioned. We have not seen any serious infrastructure plan to consolidate the gains made by the previous regime. These are the critical issues we wanted to hear from the minister. At least, if he doesn't have the finance, that he should let us appreciate how much can go into any of these critical sectors. And this is a worrisome situation. We are not happy about it, and we hope that we will engage the two ministers, the Minister for Health and the Minister of Finance. We want the two ministers to dialogue. What is it that we don't have a clear policy statement on health?
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel Benaku. He is with the coalition of the NGOs in health, but that also speaks to the issue. It's as if it looks like government's focus is different, right?
No, government has health also in its budget for 2018. Well, and in the medium term, we're looking at even having a discussion where we could even, as it were, wean some of these government hospitals of government subvention. That
was started by the Setekpe-led administration. They tried to create that scenario too.
Yeah, and we're going to do that. We're going to still engage them. The whole idea is that if they are not on government subvention, they'll be more efficient. They'll generate their own revenues and utilize their own revenues. That we hope that will improve it. We're also looking at infrastructure in the health sector. And only yesterday or 2 days ago, we even approved funding for the expansion or the upgrade of the Tamale Hospital to a teaching hospital. In terms of infrastructure, there's a lot, equipment and all that. The details we cannot provide here. But essentially, we are putting money into that. We're looking at other health facilities in the districts, like district hospitals and all that. There is no way that we can leave our health if we intend to create all the money and then we are not providing for health. The teachers and nurses, the nurses in school, we want them to enjoy the job, the work of a nurse. So we have said that let us restore this allowance to you. All these are good perks to get them interested in the work that they are trained to do. So hopefully, we are saying that we are looking at infrastructure. The problem with child mobility essentially was about vaccines. And there's now a plan to look at that so that we can reduce that. So health is important. We will not raise all the revenues and ignore health. We look at the social services. In fact, connected to health is water and sanitation. And even though the numbers for these institutions are not available, recently we also approved money for the Navrongo water projects so that we can have water to reduce the epidemics that happen over there. So health is important, water and sanitation important, just as education is important.
Okay, so we have some critical areas to look at. We want to look at government's focus on social spending, and that will be education, etc., especially on education and how that can have an overall effect on the other sectors. We'll look at agriculture and we'll look at debt. The debt is always a big deal for the critics of government in the first place. But let's go to Kumasi. And we have Kwesi Deborah, who is in a doom. And we want to speak to some traders this morning. Good morning to you, Kwesi. Kwesi, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Roland Walker. We are the El Dorado of merchandise in the whole of the sub-region, and this is a doom. And where we stand specifically is a famous Pamper II Street. And you know, yesterday the Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta was on the floor of Parliament reading the budget. They are done. The experts have talked about it. So we are now here at the Pamper II Avenue. We're going to speak with the traders, what they think about the budget, what they heard, and what they think about this whole caboodle. So I have one sister with me. Welcome to JoyNews. Akwaba.
Yeah. The American fan who can.
About your friend.
Your family rater.
Okay. And our budget, you know, Ken Ofori-Atta be ready. Then I'll tell you.
The material me the electricity no. Electricity now mo kan ho asem no. Nana waka ameyat electricity no so. Enso me sre na me panacho. Omo mo ni nko omo ye adwuma na omo bo ano no. Omo ka se yate so so nya de omo bete so. Omo de ebo na badada na na beba ameyetua. Efi se ofie bi wa na light nim. Enso so bill ne se ba 120 na de bia beba sa so na light nim. Enti yesra no so wate so. Enti omo na ni nko so omo bete so. Enye sa say 200 na ba 200 na no omo de beba.
Well, what am I talking about is that with a reduction in the electricity tariffs, about 30% for non-residential, also residential. She saying that she does not really believe it so much, and she thinks the authorities are not going to execute it. So she's pleading on Nana to make sure that it comes to pass. Let's move to one of our sisters. Mamba Jeffrey.
Medifosia.
JoyNews. Then I'll tell you about it.
Me pacho dia me tia ya me den say nana say ye mana o ma wie school no ya me aduma next year o de adwuma beba e ma mafre no nyina anya bi aye na manu so de waye no me sre no nkwane ahode aba bia ne warma waba waye ne mapa ama ye te se na na akufu ado etina na me man kwatentene ne wo ye bia ye tawati e de nyame nhira mam de ye sra no se bo made ma adwuma na so de beba no ye ma nya bi nye na ye ho ntoye mbana kwatentene wo yesu dim amen.
Wow. Okay, well she says she's talking about Nanado's Nation Builders Score, which is going to employ about 100,000 graduates. So we're going to speak with one of the traders also, and he also listened. And Patrick Frosty.
Patrick from Boot.
Okay. Now, Enra budget in the then artificial.
Them different say light be at it so. Nothing at so no. I'm from Mobiamle.
Anything agasa.
O dente ma meka sa ne say. Ise Ghana no ka so mati bi so ye hunu hwe no so no ma no aka ne sa so ada say. Na o say Akufo Addo no mo hwe na o mo man no ma dey. Eye ma che say so ma man mo say de mu na edin. O to ade kura ye nto. En na nya ye. Ise o ko habosi a. Enu ma duty bo kosoro. O so hwe no teti no ma so say ya habo no ayi o no. Importers no de no money fra broche ba. Enu ma be ba for ma no no nya che say atete land base no. If the land base no mo so mati so no ye mo but the duty no okuna sade 100 million. Na so okuna say sade 100 million. They say still no want so. Enti no omo hwe no mtutu nyoma ye. Ana ba omian first no emba ba mu no omo say and this former ade enoma bo kosoro. Fine, yet ase ne to aba mam say munye de momra. Sade na 10 cities a and come money in 10 cities now. But almost by Mamma did not go do a times 2. That's now mobile and this what you say. I didn't boarding. I may talk about Mamma Musumba and I call it times 2. No, more so much I say. And tomorrow I'm going to come home say, yeah, or man, we better find to my prefer. And a second, so free education I buy, you know. So we have free education. I know just a choke baby. A man didn't. And as a free education, I call free education. Now, yeah, Papa, for no, yeah, but area. Now, you're bottom area. And a free education, no. Now, you money to me, and school fees. You say, Benyes can go bottom. Now, Casa baby, I choke, your hand and account. Baby, I choke, just how about choku? Your friends say, baby, I the income of blow mine, or some baby, no money, no. I banner choku and no mighty. So, petrol, DVL, and a kind of son of one, choku, baby, I'm a baby, no my year, my mine. And again, as because of such many and more, you know, my yes, I want to is a Kumasia to my dinner, I am yeah, is a refugees, no. Engineer Saban is a woman, my Naya to Abama MP before about Bemu. Okay, so what he is saying is that he had the reduction in the electricity tariffs, that's the 13%. But I think it's not going to affect them that much because they are involved in importation of goods. So if Leonardo can do something about it, they will like it so much. And he also said that the free education is helping, but he thinks there are so many areas in the economy that has to be fixed. So that's what he said. Yeah, that's a power. All right, Titi, call will be so. Me pacho, you frosty. Pacho me the kwabrabo and now tea budget no. Pacho then at free. Well, budget na honorable Kenu for yata be ready parliament in. If you say me bury as your mamu who budget will be da. Budget dana kwam say yet way near a baby to swap buy went to me and clearness for a year momo. But I said buy our baba betua. Say your boss say what promises say unemployment or mutifia in a better or more be edumae. Umpe nampede. It's me a senana yet dana say my when you never cost my. Omo man in Kotot say ya the obianti me onyane sama ya danase. All right. So what he's saying is he's reacquainting what the finance minister said, that they've been able to do what in 1 year what NDC wasn't able to execute in the whole 8 years. We're going to let's do more of the 8 years. So Pacha Frase from Entry Isaac. No so tea budget no. Me tea pa. Then tifri. Dia me tifri mun budget there. Yes year bia utimi budget a ni following year no. E bitimi arrange share papa. Na mum say odi wan be kan asem so ati ase. Na bia wakan saa na at the end of the day you know. Enipa ni hu ni saa no. Me eno ne ha me. Like say obeka se bia yatiti light base obetiti so. But at the end of the day you know, light base ni beba no. Obekom na asa akosoro kra chen say de na ye kan no. Enti abasa na I said there at the end of the day you know as a pan na say o kan ma sha menam. Ebasa emwa me. Ana two me ma de ba ko ha me pan say ye ba be ye election no. Un say no ma bebre wo a abanom the border than echi say ni say enu ti ma ye gina so say fine this time around ye be to oba no na ye hu sisan ewum then so ye ba no man gidigiti bi wo a na mo kan no asa akosoro mo a me dwene ho amente ase bi we say petrol say last year na e dabe 160 16 Ghana cedis but say e bu 200 20 Ghana cedis esa e ha adwene na say na wo kan wansem say wo mu ba be sisan no ani na akobro sa nti wono mente agenti no omo sam back on no mo me chichire mu ye no mo hu ade property nti a ama sa ade na omo kan obeka no obeka se maye ni se so na ade no the next akosoro two habo so no woni ade ba ko ha me because me normal me fan ye fa free habo ene ye de ba fine odi beba no last year duty ane ye no last year mo say matete taxes be free so but this year taxes na ma ye free so no kran duty ni sa akosoro chen last year no na yi am yi free so no mbaso be na wo so because me hu he going but is no money ban start to no mo say to no manu tiabasa me ha me timi madwene no. Okay, well then what he is saying is that the NDC government, the MPP government accused the NDC government that was last year and the previous years of manhandling the economy, and they are saying he is saying that they gave a whole lot of promise. The MPP government gave a whole lot of promise, but they came and they are not seeing anything that much. So he wants the systems to work, the things that he promised to work. We're coming to you live from the Prempeh 2nd Avenue. This is Kumasi. My name is Kwesi Debra. Back to you in the studios, Ronald Walker.
Well, thank you very much, Kwesi Debra. I love it. It says the El Dorado of Kumasi. Well, so we're also going to Abosokai. Maxwell Akbagba, lead roving man, always getting to the heartbeat of many issues. Every morning is ride in Abosokai, and we want also to get the mooch there. Good morning to you, Maxwell. Good morning, Maxwell. But well, we can't get him. Your reactions to all that the traders had been saying, you know, even the residents of Kumasi had been saying.
Well, I mean, Kumasi is a very important litmus test when it comes to commerce. I mean, trading and everything. There's no doubt about that.
Or even gauging public opinion about government.
Of course, though we all agree it's a heartbeat of the NPP. So, but then that did not take away the fact that some people were very objective in their analysis. I must say I'm impressed with some of their views. I mean, they almost all of them gave the impression they are NPP voters. However, some of them talked about things that everybody, whether you are we voted or not, can talk about. Cost of living, what governments promise and what they actually deliver. Things like these, I think, are very critical. And I feel that sometimes it is these things that we need to pay attention to. Indeed, some of us said that just by, I mean, the so-called flat rate 3%, you remember our argument in Parliament that actually we've been in government before. We know what works and what doesn't work. Today, the traders are saying, Sankofa, go and bring back the 17.5% and leave it there. We are better off. So today, the average importer is worse off. So the point is, so what has come up with all the promises made to them? They are worse off. And I'm not the one saying it. So have we, but the finance minister, keep you touting that as an achievement. Today, I agree when people say that maybe part of the reason that the port, the prices are high, may be that because things have been streamlined and other things. But it's difficult to understand that. Is it paperless? I don't think so. Indeed, one of them talked about something that is critical. When you take 17.5% off domestic airline, I am happy because it gives some room for the operators in that industry to grow. But the one that will affect everybody, including my grandmother, would have been if you reduce the price or the tax element of fuel. Because that one, immediately, the trotro person from Adenta to Accra would have benefited. But guess what? Government is refusing to do anything about fuel because they know that is a chunk of government revenue. So they are tinkering with the cosmetic parts of the taxes and leaving what means a lot to Ghanaians. Today, do we have a situation that they were reporting that electricity is more expensive than rent and other things? Have they reversed it? Is anybody paying less for water? Is anybody paying less transport fares? Is anybody actually getting job in droves? I watched one of the guys saying that all the youth are going to get a job. I wish that would happen. But the very important thing, you see the way public perceive what we do in Parliament. Some of them are believing that already government have given a directive for the reduction. You heard them saying that abansi wa tiso. So to me, they will be surprised to go buy electricity today, and then the same consumption level by the end of the week would have been what they consume again. But the education is what is required. The finance minister gave the impression as if that is a done deal. Meanwhile, we know PURC can come out and say that make the reduction bigger or smaller because that is their job. And for me, that is most critical.
No response.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I think I heard them, and some of them have very genuine concerns. What I picked from all the discussion is that when government speaks through policy, it's important for follow-up to ensure implementation and compliance, and that is where we are lacking. So all of us, like my brother Kwame is saying, we have that responsibility to do the education. If the minister said in Parliament that these are the numbers that are likely to go down on utility tariffs, but PURC has to make that announcement. Somebody's impression is that it's already been cleared. So Kwame again and myself will have to do all this job. Roland, I'm sure you also have a responsibility here to make everybody understand that these are policy programs, but we have people to implement. Of course, government should not sit back and say that once it's been pronounced or announced, everybody will work with it. We need to ensure the utility companies also sit down with PURC and government again to agree and come out quickly with what really is the situation. These are only ranges, but let us be clear, maybe within the next week or two, so that it doesn't hang on our heads as if it's never going to be done or it's already been done.
And we have to go to Maxwell Agbagba. And Mr. Agbagba is at Abosokan here in Accra. And we know that it's a hub, big hub. The president was there during his tour of the Greater Accra region. I'm sure some of the traders and residents there have a lot to say about the budget. Good morning to you, Maxwell. And you have some people you want to interview, I'm sure.
Exactly. Roland, you remember that in the 2017 budget, when the finance minister read the budget, I mean, a lot of the spare parts dealers here were raptured into a state of hilarity. They were excited because the finance minister announced that they were going to abolish some taxes. The one that, you know, they were directly connected to was the one that had to do with the importation of spare parts. A lot of them here were very excited. In fact, yesterday, when the finance minister read the budget, in fact, he reiterated that they have indeed abolished the tax on the importation of specific vehicle parts. Well, today we are here at Abosokan, as rightly mentioned, to find out from some of these spare parts dealers how they feel about it, and then 1 year on, what it has been like, you know, for them. Let me start off with you. Sir, what's your name?
I'm called Schooler Wisdom.
Schooler Wisdom?
Yes, sir.
Okay, tell me, I mean, last year, 2017, we're here. You are all excited. 2018 budget was read yesterday. What is the feeling like here at Abosokan?
Thank you for giving me this platform. When the budget was read last year, I was so excited. I was part of the jubilation, people that jubilated. But as at now, the changes, we are not seeing anything. It's affecting we are not, the expectation that they read the budget and we thought it's going to be something we will benefit out of it. The beneficiary is not coming. We are not benefiting from anything, as I can tell you now.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, the finance minister last year announced that we're going to abolish, you know, taxes on the importation of specific vehicle parts. He reiterated that point yesterday in Parliament. You deal in, you know, spare parts. You're a dealer. Tell me, what is it like? I mean, are you feeling that in your pocket? What exactly is the feeling like?
Not at all, not at all, not at all. We are not feeling anything in our pockets. They are just playing mind game with us. They are playing mind game with Abosokan people, using our name as care of. They are not doing anything to benefit we.
If you say you're just playing mind games, what exactly are you saying? That if you're going to import, you know, some of these vehicle parts, you still have to pay, you know, the taxes? Or
yes,
what exactly?
Yes. They are still paying the taxes. And even if some of us, we are not, the reason why we are not feeling it as it's supposed to be is, it's not all of us that can go to port. Only a few people can import goods, and we are retailers. If only the few people, those who can come in with the goods, they are about 10 or 100 people. And with the retailer, we are more than them, meaning those who are bringing the goods will enjoy that taxes. We at Abosokan as retailers, we are not benefiting anything from that. It's affecting us, as I can tell you.
Yeah. So you're saying that it's benefiting just a select few. Yeah. Interesting. Let me find out from you also. 2017, I'm sure you were here. Yeah. 2018 budget was read yesterday. What's the feeling like here at Abosokan?
Oh, I'm very, very, very thankful to give me this opportunity like this. Yes, last year budget and this year's budget, I know, sir, there's only 1 year. You can't adjust any government. You can't give judgment. So 1 year, let's give them opportunity, or let's give them small time. He can do it. I know that Nana can do it. Because if you go port now, everything is very, very, very good. Everything is going well. Because our Excellency Vice President has told us that if you go harbor, you spend more time. It is going well. See, I cleared my container only last week. Only 4 hours, container is out.
Wow.
Yes.
Is it because of the paperless?
Yes, that paperless is going well. Okay. It's very, very, very good idea. So I will support the government to do it. Because only 1 year, you can't judge him. Let's give you about 1 or 2 years, he can deliver.
Well, he's saying, your colleague is saying that he's not feeling, you know, the tax cuts, you know, in his pocket. They said they've abolished, you know, taxes on importation of specific vehicle parts. He says he's not feeling it in his pocket.
Oh, that's why I told you, say, let's give the government more time. Okay. Yes. Everything's going well. Yes. Okay. And I know that Nana can deliver. I know him because he started free SHS. Yes, everything is step by step. Okay. So let's support the government to do it for us. Okay. Yes.
Well, still connected to this though. Still connected to taxes. I mean, yesterday, they also announced some other measures. I mean, especially for electricity tariffs, for instance. Government says that he's going to cut that down to about 13%. You guys use a lot of electricity here. I'm sure you're excited by that one.
Yes, please. I'm so excited that they said so. But it's like they've been saying it and they don't deliver to our favor. So until they'll put it on to practice before we know that what they said yesterday is working. Because last year they said the budget was read, I was excited, but I'm not benefiting anything seriously from that. And yesterday they read the same story. So my expectation now is let's hold on and see whether they'll put it into practice. It's like now theory until they put it on practical before we know that, yes, they are ready to help us. They can say it as saying words and we will be jubilation as like we did the previously and we will not benefit. Until they put it on ground that this, and we are seeing it now. Now government is helping us. Electricity now we are benefiting like this before we know that what they said is true.
Well, of course, that 13% will be for residential, but I want to find out from you, how much you spend on electricity, for instance, here at your workplace?
My shop, every month, I used to spend like 50 Ghana, 40 Ghana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Now, before I come to you, so we wrap up this conversation. Now, there's another part of it that supports young entrepreneurs. Now, government is saying that for entrepreneurs who are below the age of 35 years, you're going to enjoy some kind of tax holidays. I want to find out from you. You should be. I mean, I'm sure you're definitely excited by this one also.
Yeah, but I'm more than 35, so it's.
Oh, I'm not more than 35.
Yeah, I'm not going to benefit.
You don't look it.
I'm not going to. But I'm more than 35. Just that I'm not going to benefit. But I'll be happy if you can help my colleagues, those who below 35.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay. I'm sure, Daddy. I'm sure you also. I mean, you have your children in school.
Yes.
And all of that.
All nephews, they are on the schools.
Okay, great.
So
I think maybe for your package, I'm sure you can relate very well to this package as well. That I mean, going for a basic education certificate examination, registration fees is going to be borne by government. I'm sure you're excited about that.
I'm very, very excited. I'm very, very excited because I have some 20 nephews. I must use my own pocket money to send them to go to school. So as the government bring this machine, I'm very glad. So I use my spirit to follow this government to achieve all the purpose we do it for me.
Okay. Let me find out from you. Finally, what will be your expectations for the next budget? What are you expecting?
I can't tell, my brother. I can't tell. I can't tell. Until I can't tell. I can't tell. I don't have anything to.
Okay. Do you have any expectations?
Electricity. Formerly last year, 2 weeks I spent 50 Ghana. Now, electricity, 2 weeks. 30 Ghana I spend it for my house.
Okay, so these are our voices from Abossey-Okai. Of course, we started the conversation talking about spare parts. We delved into other areas as well. I mean, mixed reactions here at Abossey-Okai. In fact, if you walk around and talk to the people occupying some of the shops here, these are the same reactions that you get, from them. Mixed feelings, mixed reaction all over here at Abossey-Okai. Over to you, Roland, in the studio.
Very interesting there. I don't know. What does he use in his house? 50 and 30 Ghana. Ask him which appliances he uses in his house.
Roland wants me to find out from you the appliances that you use in your house. What do you use? What kind of refrigerator? What kind of appliances?
Oh, we can refrigerators. Only fridge and systems. Mobile phone. I charge my mobile phone for our house. Last year, I said that 2 weeks I spent 50 Ghana. Now I spend all the equipment there for my room, all my house. I use fridge, light, mobile phone charger, sound system. Now I can tell you, say I'm not a politician, but I spent 30 Ghana.
I think we definitely have to come to you for some tips on how we can also, pay 30 Ghana cedis for how I think 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks. Okay.
Maxwell,
so Roland, you heard it for yourself.
Yeah, Maxwell, please try and get the tips and note it down. We'll do some graphics out of it.
Definitely.
The Abossey-Okai man's way of maximizing electricity to pay less tariffs. We'll see how that goes.
Definitely, Roland. Definitely, Roland.
Get inside there, won't you say?
Yeah, I think from their point of view, that is how they understand and appreciate the situation on the ground. And we must listen. All governments must listen to these people. And the communication, the education we're talking about, we should also use the same language. When you talk about a refrigerator, he says no, he has a fridge. He has no refrigerator.
Because that, my reporter was being book long.
Yes, yes, of course, yeah.
That's
so,
fridge.
Yeah,
fridge.
Yeah, fridge. So it means that we have to use words like fridge instead of refrigerator. We have to speak the language that they understand. At Obusi Okai, you compel him to speak English because we are on an English program. But I'm sure when Adum or somebody else goes, we'll have a different story. I think essentially it's all good for us to know the diverse views about government and the performance of governments, and we should listen so that these views could be catered for in subsequent policies or programs that we have for the country.
But we do agree that next year we're going to add additional year to free SHS. We're talking about a year. We're not even talking a term, because this one is only a term we've done. It also means that, of course, we've made the allocations for them, etc., based on what the revenues will be and the projections will be. But ultimately, we're spending more on the social side. It looks like that's the focus of government, trying to appease people and appeal to people's emotions. But we should be ready as a people also to pay for more. You think that we've catered, we've made the adjustments to make sure we realign what the expenditure is vis-a-vis what the revenue mobilization will be?
Yeah, Roland, I think we don't have the estimates, like we said from the beginning, from Parliament. So we don't know how much has been allocated to infrastructure, how much has been allocated to social services. But obviously, in the previous budgets, we can see that educational sector seem to have the bulk of all the allocations from government perspective.
Like this time it will always have.
So if we're not deviating from that, I should think that it is worthwhile investing in education and social services. Why? Because the programs that we are running today, we intend to have the benefits over a long period of time. I'm sure between Roland and myself, we had some education several years ago, and as we sit here, we're enjoying the fruit of that investment. So education is not a consumption expenditure. Putting money in education is actually an investment expenditure, and we should be happy to do even more. So education, fine. Health, fine. All the social interventions, water, sanitation, I think we should do even more, depending on how much we can mobilize. And we shouldn't do that at the expense of creating large debts, because debts are good, but servicing the debt is a painful thing, especially if we are not managing the interest rate properly. You end up, last year, the report was that every week, government had an interest payment of obligation of about 1 billion Ghana cedis. And so what we had to do, what that means was that within a month, we were called upon to do 4 billion cedis of interest payments. The projected revenues for the country as a whole was 2 billion, 2.2 billion. So how do we finance 4.4 billion a month when we're generating 2.2 billion a month? That is why all these initiatives about reprofiling and so on came about. So you may not have all the money you need at any point in time, but it's important that you put your expertise together to see how, within these constraints, we can manage the situation so that Ghanaians do not suffer unduly. So we would put the resources in priority areas. That's essentially what I want to say. We will not be able to generate everything. In the past, no government has ever exceeded this expenditure. There's always a shortfall, which is financed through domestic borrowing or external borrowing. Today, we have the same problem, and I think the gap between the expected revenue of 62 or so and the expenditure of 62 and the revenue of about 51 or 52 leaves a gap of about 10 billion. How do we finance it? The trick is that if we look within and use domestic funding, then we are not too afraid that the monies would go out of the country when they mature. You may have the option to roll over, or even if you were to pay, you make monies available for consumption in the country, even if it's not reinvested. Yeah. So the social services sector should still enjoy revenues. But like I said, if it's within our budgeted figures, and we're not doing it unduly, it's helpful, and I'll support any such move for social investments.
Same question to you.
Yeah. I think that we cannot do away with improving education. And indeed, I mean, the only way we can be guaranteed of a better future than we have now is to give better education to our children. I am surprised that the finance minister is talking about people paying voluntarily to something. In fact, this country, nobody actually pays anything voluntarily. I'm not even sure, I mean, the people who actually save their monies outside this country so that they dodge taxes are now proposing things that everybody should pay. I mean, my brother, what should we do? Education takes, like my brother said, the chunk of our budget. Education at the top, the last count was over 8 billion Ghana cedi, followed by health. But there's a reason, because we have a population that is bulged at the bottom and the middle, which is the young. There are so many young people that require education, skills, and other things. So the hope is that when we spend the money now, they become the people who pay the taxes in the future to bail out the rest of the country. But unfortunately, if you spend that huge amount of the money in the middle, SHS, from there nobody gets job after SHS. You still need to go and get a skill or go and further education. What are we going to do about that? So if you don't take time, in 4 years' time, we'll create even bigger problem, because the quality, as I see it now, is going to dip, because the people are overcrowded, the facilities are not there. We are going to push them all through, and then when they come out, they don't have anything to do. So, and then the scary thing is that I can't see any concrete plan of government to improve infrastructure at the schools. We still have schools that lack teachers. We can't hire enough teachers. Then we are saying that let's give some money to people who are training as teachers and nurses so that they will enjoy and be happy. When they come out of school, they can't get job, and we think it's all right. This is not a solution to the problem we have. And I'm not saying NPP created the problem of especially graduate or skilled unemployment. They didn't create it. It's a compounding problem over the years. But the solution they are proposing would make it worse when it comes to health. Look, the only way you can know whether you are doing better in healthcare and education is the benchmarks. So far, the results of BEC and other things up to 2016 tells us that at West Africa level, Ghana has done better. We've done better in maths and everything. We have improved. It means the investment we put in infrastructure, teacher training, other things, was yielding a result. We need to do more than that. Healthcare, we put in a lot of money in training more nurses, doctors, and other things. The hope is that we'll find a way of employing them so that the benchmarks, the child mortality, the maternal mortality rate, and all those things will get better. But unfortunately, it's retrogressing, which means that the benchmark to measure whether the investment is paying dividend is lowering. So I'm saying this government have got a lot more work. Today, as we speak, there are so many people who don't have access to healthcare. There are so many people who need access to professional healthcare people. And I am in touch with, newly qualified doctors who are furious. They just finished their housemanship. They have gone to sit in the house. I've got relatives that have gotten that letter of appointment to Ghana Education Service and was expecting to start work. Government says start work in December because they don't want the so-called arrears. They don't want to pay you in September and October and November. What kind of the thing? And then on top of that, this is the government that is rolling out 100,000 people to give them job. And then when we asked, they said they'll be slapping, postcodes on our doors. How many houses have I got? How many times will they slap postcodes on my doors? I'm told eventually they'll probably go and beg maybe, I don't know what maybe Zoom Lion or somebody to, or National Youth Employment to roll out a new model which will put these people in a kind of a model and be pretending to be paying them money. That is the only way they can do it. 100,000 sustainable jobs, not in this economy, not under this budget, because that money, 600 million, doesn't exist at the moment in the budget. Doesn't exist doable in the budget. When they find that money, I would have expected that money is put in a productive venture. I am saying let's propose that the oil revenue in this country, let's ring fence oil revenue and say we are using, let the country accept for the next 5 years, let's put our oil revenue in education and agriculture, or education and health and agriculture. So nothing. Don't spread the money too thin. Do small, buy a small chip compound here, do this, and then at the end of the day, you can't even see what they've done. Let's do this in 5 years. Roads or education or agriculture. Let's see where we can get to in 5 years. Then the oil will give us something. To say that we are getting, what, 180 barrels of oil a day, and that is why Ghanaians think they will develop this country on the back of oil, when Nigeria drills 2 million barrels of oil, and last year they went into recession. Fortunately, Ghana didn't go into recession last year, and that's another thing people forgot. We did very well that we couldn't even go into recession. Nigeria, with all their wealth, went into a recession. The finance minister has got his work cut out, and we are afraid that the way he's doing this thing will compound the problem. This budget doesn't give me any hope at all that things will get better.
Thank you. And that's his last word. Please wrap up for me.
Yeah, I think that no government comes into an economy where there are no problems. And unemployment, I'm sure, is a key problem in the country. The government has a policy saying that we are moving away from so many taxes to doing production. Now, this calls for various investments. So if you go through the detailed budgets, you realize that the public-private partnership is going to see how much more we can get outside government's own taxation formula. That is one of the great things. The other initiative, which we haven't discussed today, but I think is important, is the initiatives in the financial sector. Government is thinking about setting up a national development bank. The National Development Bank is going to be resourced with about $500 million as initial capital. Now, what is it going to do? Essentially, it is supposed to provide a platform for businesses to develop in the country. Most of the banks, we have NIB, we have ADB, and we call them development banks. But go and look at their performance reports. They are all retail, they're into retail banking. So that conscious effort to generate, to streamline or to improve the financial service sector is good. Insurance companies provide long-term monies. And so looking at all these, I think that agriculture is good, infrastructure and everything, but the financial sector adjustments or initiatives, there are things that I think we should encourage, and that will help all of us.
So I've had in the studio the Member of Parliament for Esekuma Odobing Brakwa, Anthony Efa, and thanks for joining me.
My pleasure.
I've enjoyed your discussion. I hope that you can find time.
I will come again.
You'll come again?
Yes, I will.
We have to deny you of a little sleep.
I will come, never mind.
Just like we do for Kwame. Kwame even doesn't sleep, so it's not a problem. Kwame Abuja is a Member of Parliament for Adaklu. So good morning to you. You were with us yesterday too, and we're grateful for your commitment to make sure that we expand the education on the many issues.